The crowd held its breath. A rude tourist threw trash at a guardsman, but a second later, he was the one who hit the pavement. Cameras were rolling, laughter echoed across the square. But the worst was yet to come. London. Morning. The square in front of Buckingham Palace comes to life with the sounds of voices, camera flashes, and the lively movement of tourists. Some hurry to snap pictures. Others gaze in awe at the palace's grand architecture. Someone, swept up by the royal atmosphere, whispers, "Oh my God, this is so beautiful." But among the visitors admiring the monumentality of the place, one man stands out, someone who couldn't care less about history or culture. Brian Reed, a very overweight 35-year-old American, stands with his legs apart in the middle of the square. His massive body is squeezed into a yellow t-shirt that barely manages to cover his gut, while his blue jeans are stretched so tight they look ready to burst. Rolls of fat hang over his waistband, and the stretched-out collar of his t-shirt reveals dark sweat stains. His face is flushed from the heat, but he doesn't seem to mind. In fact, he looks smug. A cocky smirk plays on his lips. He glances around as if he owns this square. In front of him, standing in complete silence like the embodiment of British discipline and honor, is a guardsman. Tall and lean, he holds himself with perfect posture, clad in the traditional red tunic with large gold buttons, crisp black trousers, and a towering bearskin hat. His face is expressionless, his gaze locked on nothing. He doesn't move. He is part of this grand place, a symbol that must not be touched, physically or morally. But Brian Reed doesn't respect symbols. He's here for entertainment. His gaze shifts to his friends, then back to the guardsman, mischief glinting in his eyes. "Hey, guys, is this dude even alive?" he shouts, taking a step closer. The crowd stirs. Some tourists chuckle, others exchange glances, and a few already have their phones out. People are waiting to see what happens next. Maybe he's a robot? Or just a mannequin? Brian continues, scanning the faces around him. He's basking in the attention. He's loving it. After all, everyone is looking at him. Then, his small, beady eyes spot a discarded paper cup on the ground. Lazily, he bends down, groaning under his own weight, picks it up with his thick fingers, and straightens up with an even wider grin. "Let's find out." He pulls his arm back and throws the trash straight at the guardsman. Silence. The cup hits the soldier's chest and falls to the ground. The crowd freezes. The tension in the square becomes almost tangible. But the guardsman doesn't move, doesn't flinch, doesn't react, like a statue. Brian smirks even wider. "Well, that didn't work. He's definitely a mannequin." Some tourists giggle. A few whisper amongst themselves. But something has changed. The air feels charged, and then the guardsman suddenly steps forward. Boom! The guardsman moves, suddenly, sharply, as if someone pressed a button activating a machine. Brian freezes, his fat face twisting in shock. "Oh, come on, bro, it's just a joke," he blurts out, letting out a nervous laugh, stepping back. But the guardsman keeps advancing. His icy stare locks onto Brian, piercing through him like a blade through a slab of meat. The crowd holds its breath. Someone gasps. Cameras click rapidly. Some, already sensing an epic moment, hit record. The guardsman marches forward with precision. He is tall, strong, his movements calculated to perfection. His posture carries the weight of his country's honor, tradition, and discipline. He does not tremble. He does not hesitate. His hand rests on the hilt of his bayonet. But he does not draw it. He doesn't need to. Brian gulps. "Ooh!" The crowd murmurs in awe. Brian's eyes dart around. He didn't expect the statue man to come alive. He didn't expect his own legs to instinctively back away. He's scared, but his pride won't let him admit it. He can't be the guy who chickened out. Brian tries to regain control, dramatically throwing his hands up and blinking in fake innocence. "Relax, man. It was just a tiny joke." The guardsman says nothing. He stands directly in front of Brian now, less than 2 feet away. His face remains blank, but his eyes say everything. They carry a warning, a cold, silent reminder that beyond the limits of jokes, there are consequences. Brian starts sweating even more. He glances around, hoping for support, someone to back him up, but no one does. Some people snicker. Someone whispers, "Oh, he's done for." Brian realizes the joke has backfired. "He's not actually going to hit me, right?" he mutters, looking over his shoulder for reassurance. Silence. And then, the guardsman raises his boot and takes a sharp step forward. Boom! His polished black boot slams against the pavement. Like a gunshot, like a hammer, like a final judgment. Brian screams, not just in shock, in pure instinctual fear. His fat legs jerk backward too fast, too clumsily. The crowd gasps. Phones zoom in. Cameras flash. "Holy shit, he's scaring me!" Brian yells, and the crowd erupts into laughter. Loud, joyful, mocking. Inside, Brian is boiling with humiliation. What the hell? This guardsman didn't even touch him, didn't say a word. And yet, Brian Reed, the loudest guy on the square, was now the biggest joke of the day. Fury ignites inside him like a firestorm. "What the hell, man?" he barks. "I'm a tourist. I have rights." The crowd howls with laughter. Someone mockingly repeats his words. Someone else shouts, Yeah, tourist." Someone whispers, "Having rights doesn't mean being an idiot." Brian snaps. He takes a step forward, but he never gets the chance, because the guardsman moves again, without warning, without a word. He just takes another step forward, another silent verdict. And that's all it takes. Brian stumbles back, but too fast, too clumsily. His foot catches on the curb, and his massive body, unable to keep balance, goes crashing down. Thud. The square explodes in laughter. People cheer. Someone claps. "Oh, that's karma!" "Bro, that was epic!" "Dude, you're famous now!" A phone hovers in front of Brian's face, recording his humiliation. Flat on his back, face red, sweat dripping, massive, helpless, like an overturned turtle. The guardsman doesn't move. He's already back in position, as if none of this was even worth his time. But Brian knows. He just lost, and he lost big. Brian lets out a low groan, his massive body sprawled across the stone pavement. His back protests in pain, and his thick fingers frantically scrape at the ground, trying to find support. His head is spinning. A dull ringing fills his ears, but soon it grows into something louder. Laughter. Loud. Mocking. Merciless laughter. He squeezes his eyes shut, hoping that if he can't see the crowd, then maybe the crowd can't see him. But it doesn't help. He opens his eyes, and what he sees is worse than the pain in his back. Dozens of people standing over him, phones pointed at him, all recording, all watching, and almost all laughing. Some are snapping photos from a low angle. Others are already typing captions for social media. Someone has gone live. "Dude, that's karma," someone shouts, and the crowd bursts into fresh laughter. "Don't mess with the guards, bro." "This is definitely going viral on TikTok." Panic crashes over Brian like a tidal wave. No, this isn't how it was supposed to go. He planned it differently. He was supposed to make everyone laugh at the guardsman. But now, they were laughing at him. The whole world was going to see this. Brian turns bright red, but not from the heat. from Humiliation. He, the big American, the man who thought he was untouchable, had just been completely destroyed by a silent British guardsman in a ridiculous hat. Rage hits him like an electric shock. "God damn it!" he bellows, scrambling to his feet as fast as his massive frame allows. "That was aggressive behavior. I'm gonna sue your ass, you bastard." But the guardsman doesn't even look at him. No reaction. He has already returned to his position, standing motionless, as if nothing happened, as if he can't even hear the furious, sweaty mess of a man screaming beside him. And that humiliates Brian more than the fall itself. "Hey! Do you hear me?" he shouts, his voice trembling with rage. But the guardsman remains deaf and blind, as if Brian is dust, as if he doesn't even exist. The crowd roars with laughter. Someone nudges their friend, pointing at Brian. "Look, he's trying to start a scene, but the guy won't even acknowledge him." Oh my God, this is so embarrassing. This dude needs to learn some respect. And then a different voice cuts through the noise, cold, sharp, emotionless. "Sir." Brian stops, whirls around. A security guard stands in front of him, tall, fair-skinned, dressed in a sleek black suit. His face is strictly professional. His voice is made of steel. He doesn't even blink. "If you do not cease this disturbance, you will be arrested for disorderly conduct." That's it. Those words slice through Brian like a knife. His face goes pale. "What? I'm the victim here," he stammers, unable to believe what he just heard. The crowd gasps. Victim? Him? The fat tourist who threw trash at a guardsman? Victim? "You have 3 seconds to leave, sir." The security guard doesn't blink. He says it as if he's simply announcing the weather, but in his eyes, there is ironclad warning. Brian swallows hard. The crowd waits. Phones still recording. If he throws a tantrum now, it'll be online forever. The entire world will watch him get kicked out of the square. He can't let that happen. He lost. He's not the king of this scene. He's the punchline. His pride burns in the fire of humiliation. He turns away, and under the mocking laughter of the crowd, he walks off. The guardsman turns and silently returns to his post. No theatrics, no extra movements, as if nothing happened. His face is unreadable. His gaze locked straight ahead into the void. He doesn't acknowledge the noisy crowd. He doesn't glance back at the man who just screamed at him, because it doesn't matter. He stands as still as ever, and in that stillness, there is something majestic. The crowd remains in awe. Some clap, some nod approvingly, others whisper in admiration. Now that's self-control. A true professional. Dude didn't even break a sweat putting that idiot in his place. The guardsman doesn't react. He doesn't hear their words. But they don't matter to him. He is doing what he was meant to do. A symbol of honor, a symbol of tradition, a symbol of Britain. Hours pass. The crowd shifts. Tourists come and go. But the guardsman remains, as he always does, as he always will. Meanwhile, across town, Brian slouches in a dingy motel room, hunched over the screen of his laptop. The glow from the monitor highlights his round, red, stressed-out face. On screen, staring back at him, himself, a video, captured from dozens of angles, different titles, but the message is the same. American tourist tries to mess with a guardsman and gets instant karma. Millions of views, thousands of comments, and every single one feels like a slap in the face. That's exactly how you deal with disrespectful tourists. The guardsman is the true master of self-control. This is the most humiliating loss I've ever seen. When you think you're the smartest guy in the room and end up an internet meme. Brian swallows hard. It's over. Too late. He can't undo this. His boss will see it. His family will see it. His friends will see it. The whole world will see it. He slowly closes his laptop, leans back in his chair, and stares at the ceiling. Damn it. I should have just thrown that stupid cup in the trash. Meanwhile, back at Buckingham Palace, among new tourists, new faces, new voices, the Guardsman stands at his post. As before, as always, as a symbol untouched by time. He was, he is, he will be. The Guardsman is unshakable.